Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Speaking Nerds channel. We are so excited to have you here with us today. I'm Maya.
And I'm John. This is where we go beyond the textbook and explore how English is actually used in the real world. The slang, the idioms, the subtle meanings that make all the difference.
Exactly. If you're serious about mastering English that sounds natural and authentic, please hit that like button and subscribe to English Speaking Nerds. Every subscription helps us create more content like this.
It really does. And today we're tackling something that comes up constantly in conversation, but rarely gets taught properly in English classes.
Today's topic is habits. Not just, I brush my teeth every morning, but the deeper, more sophisticated ways native speakers talk about their routines, their struggles with bad habits, their attempts to build better ones, and the whole psychology behind why we do what we do.
And we're going to explore some really fascinating territory here, because habits are incredibly personal. The way you talk about your habits reveals a lot about your values, your self-awareness, and even your sense of humor.
Stay with us until the end because we're going to discuss something that I think will surprise you. The connection between habits and identity. Like, when does a habit become part of who you are?
That's going to get philosophical, and I'm here for it. But let's start with the basics. Maya, how do native speakers actually talk about their daily routines without sounding like a robot reading from a grammar textbook?
Great question. So here's what learners often do wrong. They'll say something like, every day I wake up at 6 a.m., then I brush my teeth, then I eat breakfast, then I go to work. It's grammatically perfect, but completely unnatural.
Right? Because native speakers don't give you a minute-by-minute breakdown unless you specifically ask for it. Instead, we use more casual, flowing language. We might say, I'm usually up by 6 or so, or I tend to start my day pretty early.
Notice those phrases usually, tend to, pretty early. They're softer, more conversational. We're not being robotic about it. And we use present simple tense, but we add these frequency adverbs that make it sound less mechanical.
Another thing native speakers do is group activities together. Instead of listing every single thing, you might say, I do my morning routine, shower, coffee, check my emails, and then I'm out the door by 8.
Morning routine is such a useful phrase. It bundles everything together without being tedious. You could also say, my evening routine or my workout routine. It's efficient.
Let's talk about frequency words, because these are crucial when discussing habits. We've got always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never. But there's so many more nuanced ways to express frequency.
Absolutely. You can say 9 times out of 10, which means almost always, or more often than not, which means usually but not quite always. These sound much more sophisticated than just usually.
As a rule is another good one. As a rule, I don't eat after 8 p.m. It sounds thoughtful, like you've made a conscious decision.
Or I make it a point to do something. I make it a point to call my mom every Sunday. That shows intentionality. It's not just happening automatically, you're prioritizing it.
What about when you want to express that something is irregular, like it happens, but not on a set schedule?
You could say every now and then, or from time to time. I go for a run every now and then means it's not a regular habit, but you do it occasionally. Once in a blue moon is even more rare. It means very seldom.
Once in a blue moon is such a great idiom. I eat fast food once in a blue moon means almost never. And then there's every so often, which is similar to from time to time.
Now, let's talk about good habits, because this is where the vocabulary gets really interesting. When you're trying to describe a positive habit, you don't just say, I do this thing. You explain why it matters or what you get out of it.
Right. So instead of, I meditate every day, you might say, I've gotten into the habit of meditating every morning, and it really helps me start the day with a clear head.
I've gotten into the habit of is perfect because it acknowledges that this is something you've developed over time. It wasn't always part of your routine, but now it is.
You could also say, I've made it a habit to do something, or I'm in the habit of doing something, which means it's now automatic for you.
What about when you're proud of a habit you've built? How do you express that without sounding arrogant?
I think you can say, I'm pretty disciplined about something. I'm pretty disciplined about going to the gym 3 times a week. The word disciplined shows dedication without bragging.
Or I'm committed to something. I'm committed to reading for 30 minutes before bed. Committed has this nice sense of intentionality.
I'm religious about is another phrase, though it's interesting because it has nothing to do with actual religion. It just means you're extremely consistent. I'm religious about flossing my teeth.
I love that one. It's almost humorous because it's such a strong word for something mundane, but it conveys that you never skip it.
Now, let's flip this and talk about bad habits, because this is where conversations get really honest and relatable.
Oh, bad habits. We all have them. And the way we talk about them is so revealing. First of all, we often use self-deprecating humor when discussing our bad habits. We're laughing at ourselves a little bit.
Totally. You might say, I have this terrible habit of checking my phone first thing in the morning, or I'm guilty of binge watching shows until 2 a.m.
I'm guilty of is such a common phrase. It acknowledges that you know it's not great, but you do it anyway. There's an admission of fault there.
And notice the adjectives we use. Terrible habit, awful habit, bad habit. We're not trying to defend it. We're owning it.
Another phrase is, I can't help but do something. I can't help but snack late at night. It implies a lack of control, like it's almost involuntary.
Or, I have a tendency to do something. I have a tendency to procrastinate when I have a big deadline. Tendency is a softer word than habit. It's like a leaning or an inclination.
What about when the bad habit is really persistent? Like you've tried to stop, but you keep falling back into it.
Oh, that's when you say, I keep doing something. I keep hitting the snooze button even though I know I shouldn't. The word keep emphasizes the repetition and your frustration with yourself.
Or I find myself doing something. I find myself mindlessly scrolling through social media for hours. I find myself has this interesting quality of surprise, like you didn't consciously decide to do it, but suddenly you're doing it.
That's a great observation. It's like the habit has its life of its own. You're almost watching yourself do it.
Let's talk about trying to break bad habits, because this is a huge part of how people discuss their habits. The language around behavior change is so rich.
Absolutely. So if you're trying to stop a bad habit, you might say, I'm trying to cut back on something. I'm trying to cut back on caffeine. Cut back means reduce, not eliminate completely.
Right, and that's more realistic than saying, I'm quitting coffee cold turkey. Cold turkey means stopping completely and abruptly, which is really hard to do.
I'm working on is another useful phrase. I'm working on being less negative, or I'm working on waking up earlier. It acknowledges that change is a process.
I'm making an effort to do something also shows intentionality. I'm making an effort to be more patient with people. It's not automatic yet, but you're trying.
And when you slip up, you can say, I fell off the wagon. This originally referred to alcohol, but now it's used for any habit. I was doing so well with my diet, but I fell off the wagon last weekend.
Or I caved, or I gave in to temptation. I tried to avoid sweets, but I caved and ate a whole box of cookies. There's humor in the confession.
I caved is so vivid. It's like you collapsed under pressure. And everyone can relate to that feeling.
Now, here's something interesting. Native speakers often talk about habits in terms of streaks or consistency. Like, I'm on day 30 of meditating every day, or I haven't missed a workout in 2 weeks.
Yes, we're weirdly competitive with ourselves. I'm on a roll means you're doing great and you want to keep the momentum going. I've been on a roll with waking up early lately.
And the opposite is I've been slipping or I've been slacking. I've been slacking on my reading habit. I haven't picked up a book in weeks.
Slacking is more casual. I've been slacking on meal prep. Just means you haven't been putting in the effort.
Let's discuss the whole concept of breaking a habit versus forming or building a habit. These verbs matter.
They do. We break bad habits and build or form or develop good habits. The imagery is different, right? Breaking is destructive, building is constructive.
Exactly. You might say, I'm trying to break my habit of interrupting people, but I'm trying to build a habit of exercising regularly. The language reflects whether you're removing something negative or adding something positive.
You can also kick a habit, which is more informal. I finally kicked my smoking habit. Kick implies forcefully getting rid of something.
And when you successfully build a habit, you can say it's become second nature. Going to the gym is second nature to me now. That means it's so automatic you don't even think about it.
Or it's ingrained in you. Saying thank you is ingrained in me. My parents taught me that from a young age. Ingrained means deeply embedded.
Let's talk about habits that are tied to specific contexts or triggers. Like maybe you always have coffee when you wake up, or you always check your phone when you're bored. How do we talk about these conditional habits?
Great question. You can use whenever statements. Whenever I'm stressed, I eat junk food. Or whenever I sit on my couch, I end up watching TV for hours.
The structure every time works too. Every time I go to the grocery store, I buy something I don't need. It shows the pattern.
And you can talk about habits being triggered by certain situations. Being around certain friends makes me drink more, or working from home makes me snack constantly. You're identifying the trigger.
This is actually really important for self-awareness. When you can articulate what triggers your habits, you can start to change them.
Absolutely. A lot of habit formation is about recognizing patterns. I've noticed that I'm more productive in the morning, or I've realized that I sleep better when I don't use my phone before bed.
I've noticed and I've realized are both great for showing self-reflection. They indicate you're paying attention to your own behavior.
Now, let's talk about habits that are culturally specific or socially influenced, because a lot of our habits are shaped by the people around us and the culture we live in.
That's so true. You might say, it's customary in my family to do something. It's customary in my family to have a big Sunday dinner together. That's a habit that's been passed down.
Or, I was raised to do something. I was raised to take off my shoes when I enter someone's home. That's a habit that was instilled in you from childhood.
Everyone I know is another way to frame it. Everyone I know drinks coffee in the morning. It's just the culture here. You're situating your habit within a broader social context.
And sometimes we pick up habits from other people. I picked up this habit from my roommate, or my colleague got me into the habit of taking afternoon walks.
Picked up is such a casual, natural phrase. It's like the habit just attached itself to you without much effort.
What about habits that you're ambivalent about? Like, you do them, but you're not sure if they're good or bad?
Oh, that's interesting. You might say, I don't know if this is healthy, but I always, and then describe the habit. There's a questioning quality to it. I don't know if this is healthy, but I always work late into the night when I'm on a deadline.
Or you could say, for better or worse, I have this habit of overthinking everything. You're acknowledging that it's complicated.
It's a double-edged sword is another phrase. My perfectionism is a double-edged sword. It makes my work great, but it also stresses me out. The habit has both positive and negative aspects.
I love that phrase. It captures the complexity of so many habits. They're not purely good or purely bad.
Let's talk about habits and willpower, because this is a huge topic in English-speaking cultures. There's this whole narrative around self-control and discipline.
Right. If you have strong willpower, you might say, I have good self-control, or I'm pretty disciplined. But if you struggle, you might say, I have no willpower, or my willpower is terrible.
Willpower is an interesting word because it treats self-control like a resource that can be depleted. You hear people say, by the end of the day, my willpower is gone.
That's based on research, actually, decision fatigue and ego depletion. But yeah, people say, I gave in because I was tired and my willpower was low.
Another phrase is, I don't trust myself around something. I don't trust myself around cookies. I'll eat the whole box. It's humorous, but also honest about your lack of self-control.
Or, I have no self-restraint when it comes to online shopping. It's an admission of weakness.
But here's something I find fascinating. The way we talk about habits is shifting. People are moving away from willpower-focused language and toward systems-focused language.
Yes, instead of I need more discipline, people are saying I need to design better systems, or I need to make it easier for myself.
Right. So instead of relying on willpower to go to the gym, you might say, I put my gym clothes out the night before, so I don't have to think about it in the morning. You're removing friction.
I've set up my environment to support this habit is a very modern way of talking about behavior change. It's less about forcing yourself and more about making good choices easier.
James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, making good habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And people are adopting this language.
So you'll hear people say, I've stacked this habit onto an existing one. Habit stacking. After I pour my coffee, I immediately write in my journal. You're linking the new habit to an established one.
Or, I've reduced the friction for a good habit. I keep a book on my nightstand, so reading before bed is effortless.
And conversely, I've increased the friction for a bad habit. I deleted social media apps from my phone so I can't mindlessly scroll.
This is such a sophisticated way to talk about habits. You're not blaming yourself for lack of willpower. You're taking practical steps to shape your behavior.
Let's discuss how habits relate to identity, because this is where it gets really deep. At what point does a habit become part of who you are?
That's the question, and I think the language reflects this. When someone says, I'm a morning person, they're not just describing a habit, they're describing their identity.
Right. I'm a morning person versus I wake up early are very different statements. One is about identity, the other is just about behavior.
Same with I'm a runner versus I run. If you identify as a runner, running is part of your self-concept. It's not just something you do, it's who you are.
And I think that's powerful for habit formation. If you can shift your identity, the behavior follows more easily. Instead of, I'm trying to quit smoking, you say, I'm not a smoker. It's a fundamental redefinition.
Although that can also be dangerous, right? Because if you tie your identity too closely to your habits, then breaking the habit feels like losing part of yourself.
That's a great point. I've seen people struggle with this. Like if you've been a party person your whole life and then you decide to drink less, you might feel like you're losing your identity.
Or if you've always been the friend who's always late and then you start being punctual, people might not recognize this new version of you. It's disorienting.
So there's a balance. Your habits should serve your values and goals, but they shouldn't define your entire sense of self.
Absolutely. You can say, I value health, so I exercise regularly, which is different from I am a gym person. One is about alignment with values, the other is about identity.
This is making me think about how we talk about changing habits as we age. Because people do change. What language do we use for that?
You might say, I've mellowed out or I've calmed down if you used to be more wild or impulsive. I used to go out every night, but I've mellowed out.
Or, I've become more something. I've become more health conscious as I've gotten older. Or, I've become more introverted over the years.
I'm not the person I used to be is a pretty dramatic way to express change. It suggests a significant transformation.
And sometimes people are nostalgic about old habits. I miss the days when I could eat whatever I wanted without consequences, or I used to be so carefree.
I used to is the classic structure for talking about past habits. I used to smoke, or I used to stay up until 3 a.m. It clearly marks it as a past behavior that no longer applies.
Although sometimes you say I used to with a hint of regret or longing, the tone matters. I used to read so much could mean you wish you still did.
Let's talk about peer pressure and social habits, because so much of what we do is influenced by the people around us.
Yes. You might say, everyone around me does it, so I kind of fell into the habit. Or, it's hard not to drink when all your friends are drinking.
I get swept up in it is a phrase that captures how social situations can override your intentions. I always plan to eat healthy at parties, but I get swept up in the moment and eat whatever's there.
Or, when in Rome, which is short for when in Rome, do as the Romans do, it means you're adapting to the social context, even if it's not what you'd normally do.
I don't want to be the odd one out is another way to explain social conformity. I don't want to be the odd one out, so I joined everyone for drinks even though I'm trying to cut back.
And sometimes you have to actively resist social pressure. I've learned to say no, or I stick to my guns even when people try to convince me otherwise.
Stick to your guns is a great idiom. It means you hold firm to your decision despite pressure. My friends wanted me to stay out late, but I stuck to my guns and went home.
What about accountability? People often talk about needing someone to hold them accountable for their habits.
Right. You might say, I have an accountability buddy, or my friend checks in on me to make sure I'm staying on track.
Checks in is a nice phrase. It's gentle. My sister checks in every week to see if I'm still meditating.
Or you can hold yourself accountable, which means taking responsibility without external pressure. I journal every night to hold myself accountable for my goals.
Let's discuss the language around breaking cycles or patterns, especially when habits are connected to deeper issues.
This can get heavy, but it's important. You might say, I'm trying to break the cycle of something. I'm trying to break the cycle of stress eating that I learned from my parents.
Cycle implies that it's generational or repetitive. I want to break the cycle so my kids don't develop the same habits.
Or I'm working through something. I'm working through my relationship with food. It acknowledges that there's an emotional or psychological component.
Relationship with is really common now. My relationship with money, my relationship with alcohol, my relationship with exercise. It frames the habit as something complex and personal.
And sometimes people say, I'm unlearning bad habits. I'm unlearning the belief that I need to be busy all the time. Unlearning implies that you were taught something, and now you're actively rejecting it.
That's powerful. It puts agency back in your hands. You're not just stuck with these patterns, you can actively change them.
Before we wrap up, let's give our audience some homework. We want to hear from you in the comments.
Yes, describe one habit you're proud of and one habit you're trying to change. Use the sophisticated vocabulary we discussed today. Don't just say, I exercise or I eat too much. Really paint a picture.
Use phrases like, I've gotten into the habit of, I'm guilty of, I'm working on, I tend to, more often than not. Show us what you've learned.
And here's a second question. Do you think your habits define who you are, or are they just behaviors you can change? Where do you draw the line between habit and identity?
These are big questions, but we genuinely want to hear your thoughts. Your perspectives from different cultures and backgrounds make this channel what it is.
We read every comment, and honestly, we learn from you just as much as we learn from you.
All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this helpful, please give us a thumbs up.
Share this video with anyone who's learning English or trying to build better habits. And subscribe. If you haven't already, we've got so much more coming.
Until next time, stay curious, stay nerdy, and remember, your habits can change, but your potential is limitless.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.